So I've been attempting to do this transition timeline video for a few months, and I've done a lot of soul searching and inner work and all of this stuff, right? Like everybody. This right here, dangly light. Anyway, do you know what the secret space programs are? Do you know what Men in Black are? Do you know what the astral realm is? I saw a video today by Gigi Young, and it reminded me how much I've been messed with and how much I've kept my mouth shut about it. And looking through the pictures that I have of the transition, sorry, I've been getting no sleep because of these bastards, the people that I want to talk about. I was looking at the transition pictures, well, the pictures that I've taken of my entire life from beginning, like all the pictures I have that are with me and not with my specific person who is pretending that he can't speak. Everything I have has shown me how much I've been attacked my entire life. I've gone from timeline to timeline, dimension to dimension, constantly jumping from one version of myself to the next to better myself. And every time it seems that, like the dreams I used to have, which weren't really dreams, I'm constantly being followed. And not followed in a paranoid sense, but actual blatant, like, there. And it happened again last night. And one of them was in my room, and I was laying there attempting to sleep, and I kept feeling like I'm being watched. And I thought, okay, this is weird. Let's do some shielding. Let's do some meditation thing. And I saw this being standing there in the empty space of what I was looking at. So I'm looking at the wall, but the wall seems like there's something in front of it that looks like the wall, but it's not the wall. It was weird. It's like an invisible thing, but you could see the outline of the thing that's pretending to be invisible. A few days ago, prior to that, I saw this weird ghoul-looking creature that looked like it had been drowned. And at first it frightened me because it was like 2, 3 in the morning and I couldn't sleep. And this thing, I kept seeing it in my mind's eye. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see my room in sonar, which was weird to begin with. But then I would see it, this thing peeking its head from the door and then like going away. And then I could hear people talking in the distance as if they were downstairs at the next door. Is she asleep yet? Is she asleep? Vitals show she's this, but is she asleep yet? I'm like, what the fudge is this about? I thought I was going bonkers again. I'm like, no, I'm not paying attention to that world. I've, changed my vibration. I've moved forward. I've done this and this and that. And then I realized I'm still in the matrix, which means so are they. Anyway, I talked to this being, this little ghoul thing that they sent. And apparently it was something from a different timeline that was rejected. Not an aspect of myself, but an aspect of someone else that I knew. And I recognized it from the eyes. And instead of being scared, I like sat up in bed and I closed my eyes and I spoke to it with my eyes closed because I couldn't really see it with my physical eyes. What I saw with my physical eyes was this like weird blurry disturbance in front of me. And speaking to it, I remembered a lot of other things that have happened. It was like this weird, creepy creature was reminding me of things I had blocked away, and it was the only thing that could get in to talk to me, to tell me about the other things. Which makes me wonder, where were the good guys, And do we really know which one the good guys are? So I've been doing a lot of spiritual work, obviously, for a very long time. And this story aside, because it's going to go into a million different loopholes and I don't want to go and do that. There's too many threads and strings. it just dawned on me how much I've been through, and how explaining any of it to you from the point of view of someone who has been through it, but you haven't. And for me to be able to explain it to you, I have to be able to explain it to you literally, like to give you the experiences I've had. And there have been so many. I've had so many of these experiences, so I wouldn't even know how to share this with you. Really, it's messed up, the things that exist that we don't know about. It's really messed up that they can take us and age us forward or backwards, or take us to different dimensions and timelines and put us there to live an entire life and then bring us back here as if nothing happened other than blinking. There's so much I need to tell you. So much. I just don't know how. And I thought at first I wasn't going to, that I would just ignore all of this and move forward with my life and just continue this journey. But I'm noticing that the more I'm attempting to better my life, the more my life has remained stagnant regardless of what I'm doing, and my energy seems to be siphoned off to other places. And after I saw the stuff and heard the things yesterday and this prior week, and seeing how tired I've been looking and how much everything has been sabotaging me, like literal sabotage. I know my internal sabotage. I know we create our own reality, but we are in a reality with other people. And this reality has a narrative. So in the grand big picture of it all, yeah, you create everything. In this tiny microverse version of it, we're pieces on a chessboard. And I've been really messed with for a very long time. And I'm really tired of it. And after I watched this video, which reminded me how much fire I had in me before, how much I didn't give a flying hoot about any of it, and how much it's so convoluted. There's so much to tell you. And the more I'm realizing that, the more I want to tell you, the more I sound like a whistleblower. But it's true. I've been in those programs. Oh my God, I'm admitting it. Well, fuck. Do I really want to do this? But at the same time, do I not want to do this and continue to let them tamper with my energy and drain what I'm manifesting to their clones and copies and their humans raised in bags and their voice to skull technology that makes you think what you're hearing is your own intuition when it's not? The men in black who appear when you're doing anything and they just siphon energy off of you. The remote viewers who are constantly tampering with your life. The genetic material they claim they take from you, whether it's a strand of hair or anything, and then they make copies of you and use those copies to harm you. It's messed up. And I've seen this all firsthand. And I haven't wanted to do this. But going through the pictures I had of my transition and the pictures I've had of my life, I've realized I haven't had a choice with this. I've been going through this regardless of wanting to speak about it or not. So I guess one day I'll sit down and talk about all of this, but it's too much. I would need somebody to ask me specific questions so that I can tell you the specific answers, because otherwise I'm literally going through every single lifetime I remember and everything I experienced, and to tell you all of this would be like having you watch a movie that doesn't end. It's just a movie that has every single timeline in it. I mean, these people have technology that they open doors anywhere. I had, in the last apartment I was in with my partner before things went super batty, I told you about this in another video where one of them would come into the downstairs neighbor, would come in and watch me sleep. He was part of that. They would open a door through any wall and they would walk through, you know, and when they're walking through, you fall into a sleep paralysis state because they either have the technology or some beings that assist in telepathic and empathic control and dominance. And they use fear against you. So if you sense fear or anxiety, like when you're afraid, they take that fear and they use it to suppress you. And then you have to overcome your own fear to break free of the suppression so that you can move. But by the time you do that, you're already knocked out and taken to another place. And then you experience everything there fully. And then they knock you out again, wipe the memories, put you back where you were before you woke up. And then it's like you just had a weird deja vu moment or something. That's all it is. That's why sometimes I look like I'm 100,000 years old and other times I look like I'm 12. It's because I've lived a lot of different lifetimes in this one body, and the body's cellular memory holds the experiences I've had in all those different lifetimes. So if I tell you I'm 39, I'm lying. If I tell you I'm 20 days old, I'm lying. If I tell you I'm less than a 0.millisecond old, I'm lying. I don't know how old I am. I really don't. According to papers, I was born 1980. But that's just a piece of paper given by people in the Middle East. In 1980, during a war, this world is messed up, okay? Time travel stuff is real because time doesn't exist. It's just walking into a different room in the matrix that you're in. So if you're in an apartment building, your apartment is like 1990. The apartment across from you is like, 2050 or something. It depends on the person that's in those rooms creating the reality for them. So this reality that I'm in, I seem to be in a completely different timeline than I was before. Sorry, another fruit fly, which aren't really fruit flies. Anyway. I had a code name. I went on a lot of missions. I had a team. And I can tell you that there's ships up above, and that what you're experiencing is a replica of the actual world, which is a matrix within a matrix. So your real body is also physical, but it's plugged in somewhere to where you're experiencing this. That body's consciousness is what you are experiencing here. So in order to break free of it, you have to do this whole loop-de-loop thing and whatever. You'll figure it out. It's different for everybody. Otherwise, I tell you. And but when they say the truth will set you free, it really will. And gray aliens, most of them are robots. There are a few that are real, and those that are real, they're wearing a suit. They don't actually look like that. Bluebirds, blue avians, there's like, no, I have not ever seen anything that looks like that. I mean, there's some bird-like beings that have blue color in them, but They didn't have anything to do with any of that. There's species for everything, because there's a timeline where every species on this planet evolved as the dominant species. So the bluebirds could be actual blue jays that evolved in some other timeline and became, sentient humanoid type beings. Anyway, the Pleiadians are basically this species of life that went into the future, evolved, did their thing without. They were basically thinking that they're making a genetically superior race, and then they realized they screwed up. The race of beings that call themselves the Greys, that supposedly went to the future, messed up their genetics and came back. They're basically the remnants of what was left after the secret society disasters of the current civilization that you're experiencing. You're basically reliving the origin story of your future self. So if your future self is Darth Vader, what you are now is the origin story before Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader. The Star Wars movies are actually what's really happening. Believe it or not, I don't care. Mars isn't a different planet. It isn't. Antarctica and all those planets supposedly under ice aren't under ice. They're simply a massive giant block preventing people from going there because it's protected. So they're attempting to break through it because the remnants of what is the magical beings and all of that left to go somewhere else. So it's not just technology keeping them, keeping us away from them, or ice. It's actual real magic keeping vibrations apart, which is why these people can't seem to get through to these places. What else? The inner earth is actually real because the planet has a beehive inside. And when I'm looking around at places like this, I'm basically not focusing on myself or the camera so that I can contribute and translate the information easier. What else? The moon absolutely has bases on it. Absolutely. And it used to be a very beautiful, thriving, lush planet. The moon with the broken back and the, half-built planetoid thing that's actually mechanical is not the real moon. That's a satellite put there by humans with the help of other beings to monitor and control the planet. So those that say the Saturn moon matrix are accurate, but it's not the real moon. It's an artificial moon. The real moon has its own luminous glow, and it's a being, it's a consciousness, just like the sun. Saturn used to be the sun, and it used to have a violet glowing energy emitting from it, which had the effect of a beautiful, lush life on all the planets. Once that planet was shut down and it became a massive gas ball instead of a massive floating star, the sun and the moon with their white and their blue colors, or the yellow and the blue, or orange and the blue, whichever sun is around, they create too much of one specific vibratory spectrum, which causes the plants to turn massively green when they're supposed to be fluorescent, bioluminescent, so on and so forth, due to the violet spectrum, which is a combination of the red and the blue. That's why the sun that we have now isn't even red. It's kind of yellowish and orange. It's not like the colors that the plants are getting aren't vital. That's why the plants are so small. The trees are supposed to be larger than they are. Most of you aren't even on the planet that you think you're on. You're on artificial constructs. Some of you are on moon bases, which have holographic roofs, ceilings, and domes that make you look like you're on Earth. Others are on planets around Saturn, which has over 52 planets orbiting it, and minor asteroids, all of which are habitable. And yeah, it's a lot, and I'm really tired of being messed with. So from now on, every time I get messed with, I'm going to tell you more and more and more. And even if I don't get messed with, I'm going to tell you more and more and more anyway. because apparently this is what I'm here to do. Because telling you about transgender stuff seems a little redundant when the reason that we have to transition genders is due to their sabotage. Because they mess with the genetics of the mother and the father and the sperm and the seed and all of that, so that when the child is born, the gene that activates for hermaphroditism doesn't go off. They alter it for one or the other because they have something called the Alice program, which is all life is cosmic energy through the looking glass. So what they do is put a piece of your DNA onto this looking glass thingy, or some part of you, or whatever. They use some psychic to tune into you and channel your energy, and then they use it that way to see where you would go into the future, what you commit, what you do, what you don't do. And then through the bloodlines, they go back into the past, tamper with the genetics, so that when you're born, you're really screwed up. It's just what it is. I apologize if it sounds strange, but this is absolute truth, and I'm sorry that this goes on. Truly. The human race deserves a lot better than this. I deserved a lot better than what was done to me, and me and the love of my life deserved a lot better than what happened to us. The planet originally wasn't like this. The Matrix wasn't like this. That's when the age of the supposed goddess was around. And yes, she was around. And yes, she's still closer than you think she is. And she wasn't always a she. She was also a he. And she was also a both of them, a hermaphrodite. Because you cannot harness the power of creation fully unless you have the seed and the egg within you. That's how you create. You don't create with sperm, you don't create with an egg, you create with both. So when the civilizations messed up back then, it wasn't a linear thing that happened. It was tampering from the future to mess with the past, to mess with the genetics, to create disharmony and trauma, and to alter the vibration of the planet to that which disrupted her ability to be able to maintain harmony. She was in tune with the planet, and when the planet suffered, she suffered. When she suffered, the planet suffered, so on and so forth. And then that's when the societies showed up. The Druids, the original Illuminati, which were originally intended to illuminate the nations, hence Illuminati, illuminating nations. But they have been infiltrated by Arcanic and for interference. Most of all of them have been. The inversion of sacred symbols and sacred geometry, the incubuses and succubi, astral entities, attachments, trauma, all things to get you to dislodge yourself from your body and your energy so that they can thrive, because they refuse to connect to source. Because they know that once they connect to source, they either completely vanish from existence because they can't have a source connection themselves. They're NPC characters. And the ones that can, like the Archons that refuse to go back to Source, it's their choice. Source loves them unconditionally. But if they ever were to go back, they would be subjected to their own wipe of their own, their version of mind wipes. But the original version, to where their soul would be wiped clean in what's called the River of Fire. It's an actual thing, though. And the soul gets wiped clean of all the records, and then it starts over, which means everyone can be redeemed. But do you really want to do it the hard way, or do you want to choose to forgive and to move forward? Which is also one of the reasons why the Matrix was created in the first place by the original creators of it, which are beyond time and space. They're even older than the aeons. Really. And what else? What else is there that I can tell you right now that would help you to search for this yourself? I don't know. There's a lot. Christ almighty, I've been through a lot. Okay, so that's that for now. I'm gonna go because I need a break. Take care of yourself. Don't be afraid. They tell you constantly who they're working for because they have to. It's like asking a police officer if they're affiliated with the law enforcement agencies. They have to tell you yes. Most of these beings will show you through the symbolism of the one eye or inverted symbolisms. And the original symbol, the original intent of the eye was the inner eye of the heart, not the inner eye of the mind, the inner eye of the heart. This closed off because the human species was becoming too violent and the soul, the source, didn't want to experience that. So that closed off as the heart, which kept you locked in the lower three chakras, which then allowed them to harness you because you didn't have the heart energy, which is what they fear and what they feast on. They're really gross. Honestly, they do a lot of weird things. I mean, you can watch some songs by, there's a song by Katy Perry where she's like being eaten. It happens. Clones. There's a channel there's a few channels on YouTube that show you that are actual like mainstream channels on how cloning is done. Use your intelligence and realize that they're telling you that they can clone humans and anything. When they're telling you about black holes already exist. They're all around you. They're vortexes. When they're telling you about space travel, they're lying. You cannot leave Earth's atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere contains the sun and the moon. It also contains the 9 other planets. This entire galaxy is its own solar system. You haven't been past it. Planet X has already come and gone 20-some thousand years ago. And no, whatever, it's come and gone, and it's time to be in this next phase. Isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen because this cycle isn't going to repeat the way it did before. We either all evolve and go and move forward together, or the entire thing gets wiped. So you have to, for your own sake, look within and find the answers for yourself. If they're making you afraid, they're draining energy from you. If you're feeling uneasy or triggered by what I'm saying, then you know I'm telling you the truth. If you're feeling fear by what I'm saying, please don't feel fear. I've been through more than you can imagine and more than I can explain to you, and I got through it. I have lost more families than I can count or recall. I have had children in more timelines and dimensions, and I have aged to thousands of years old and been de-aged back to this. I have relived the same day millions of times as punishment, as confinement, as isolation, as do what we tell you or we're going to keep you in this. I have experienced a lot of horrible things. And when I tell you that you have the power, they don't. Believe it, know it, and claim it. So whenever they mess with you, whenever they spy on you, whenever they send their goonies after you, whenever they're threatening you, whenever they're trying to pay you off, say no. Just don't. There's no reason to feel fear or anger. There's no reason to feel any sort of powerlessness. Simply state no. They can't do anything without your consent. Nothing. So you must, the only thing I can tell you to be really aware of is is your tacit consent. Tacit consent being you clip your nails and you throw it out into the trash. You're basically consenting for it to be taken care of for you. When you're eating food somewhere outside and you're not blessing your food or whatever, You're consenting for someone to prepare your food for you, which means they can prepare it any way they like. When you're going to give blood or you're having your blood tested, you are consenting to having your genetic material evaluated. So it is, and then you're giving consent for other people to use your genetic material to evaluate it and to utilize it for information gain, which they do. When my partner and I were separated from each other, and yes, we were twin souls, soul sparks, twin flames, whatever the fudge you want to call it. Memories were tampered with. Realities were switched, timelines were distorted. I was in a different timeline as a full female, and her partner was a full-on narcissist who was terrible to her. And in my reality, I was a homosexual man with a homosexual man, and we were perfectly fine and normal, and I was the narcissistic one. We swapped places, merged into one, voila, I end up being a transgender person. And the other one ends up being just gone. Disappeared. And I could show you pictures of him and myself, and every single picture we look different. Every single one. Every single one. I mean, you've seen this video and you see how many times I shift back and forth, and all I'm doing is sitting here under this light. That's all I'm doing. When I tell you I have weird abilities, I ain't lying. And when I tell you aging is nothing more than the energy you're embodying and feeling, and then the cellular memory of your body, it's truth. I've been dealing with it myself, trying to get my body to catch up to what's happening and not keep reliving the trauma of the other lifetimes, and it's not easy, but it will be. So take care of yourself and maintain your own energy. Take care of your body. Take care of yourself, and trust absolutely no one, not even me. I don't care what I tell you. I don't care how much I help you, because I love you too much. I love me too much, and I've been really hurt. So what I'm telling you, what I'm sharing with you, is absolute truth from my life and my experiences and the things I went through. It doesn't mean that you're going to experience the same things, but you probably already have. So if you intend to trust me, trust yourself first. Do not allow my story to become yours. Instead, find the threads that match and view the tapestry for what it is. Don't trust anybody. Ever. Ever. I don't care who they are. Simply because if they aren't aware of their own energy, they cannot combat or protect or maintain themselves when these beings interfere. So you have to trust yourself enough, and you have to learn to discern enough to know when someone's being tampered with and when they're not. So be careful. Okay? What I bring to you in truth, grace, divinity, and love. I don't bring it to you in self-gain or to get energy out of you or any of that stuff. Your energy is your own, and may it always be protected and guided and cleaned off from all sorts of sabotage. Take care of yourself, and please research this for yourself, okay? Research everything I've said. Everything I've said. Ask your guides, ask your angels. Read a book, do some inner soul searching. And I will get that transition video out sooner than later, because I'm realizing it's actually important for you to see the amount of times I changed.